What a great way to start the show. Mel Cox for us. Hey guys, it's Michelle from Michelle's Opinion coming at you live. I've got Mel from Mel's Table Talk. If you're looking for her channel, it is in the on my homepage. I'm going to bring this up again after I share the link around with everybody. She's on my homepage. Definitely go subscribe over there. She has these amazing panel shows. Mel, go ahead and take the floor for a second. I'm going to share our link around.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, Michelle. Yes, as Michelle said, I have a channel called Mel's Table Talks where I do long panel discussions about a whole variety of different topics, but generally about the Mandela effect and everything related to that. I also have a channel called Amber's Place that I'm beginning to do tarot card readings on. So please check them out, and I would subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to say thank you. I know Michelle, in our last live stream, mentioned that I've not been well. I have fibromyalgia, so I have my ups and downs, and yeah, I wasn't very well yesterday. But all of your healing thoughts and positive energy must have made a difference, because I feel much better today when I woke up. So thank you very much, everybody who sent loving and healing thoughts for me. And I'm quite excited about tonight's topic. It's very ad hoc, wasn't planned. Michelle just messaged me only a few minutes ago. I'm going live and talking about this. Do you want to come on? I was like, okay. But just so you know, I've ordered a pizza, so that's about to arrive. So as long as you don't mind me eating my pizza, I've got a gluten-free pizza. So anyway, yes, thank you for having me on.
Smoke them if you got them. Eat it if you're hungry. Drink your pop, your coffee. Yeah, we're improv here.
Yes, it is vegetarian.
That's right. She's set up. She set herself up some goals that she's trying to achieve. She's wanting to give up meat, give up cigarettes, give up that. She's going all after it all at once, and I tried that myself and found that I was putting too much burden on myself. I was doing more because I was listening to other people. I remember I always bring up that video, Harsh Taskmasters. I was trying to listen to Harsh Taskmasters instead of the inner voice. And guys, about drove myself crazy. I mean, it's terrible. But if you do things in a healthy way, like when you start to be symptomatic, let's say if I stopped drinking my soda pop, I stopped drinking soda pop, I stopped smoking, I did everything cold turkey. Well, you have withdrawal symptoms in your physical body. So you'll have headaches and body aches. Well, don't go cold turkey. When you're having those kind of symptoms and they're really knocking you down, I recommend you just have a small amount of whatever it is that you're, and then wean yourself off so your body doesn't get thrown into shock. Because, you know, there's a healthy way of doing everything. And yeah, today we want to talk about, look at my L, the Illuminati. Yes. Before we get into the definitions and everything, Mel, what is, when I say the word Illuminati or Freemason to you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Secret society, big boys club, you know, upper class club, royalty, the elite, the cabal, all of these words come into your head because of all the research that I think most of us have probably done on these topics, these rabbit holes.
Bad news, right? It's like evil, ooh, taboo, stay away. Not good.
But that's because I did a couple of years ago. I looked at it like that. But I think the more research you do and the more reading you do, you realise that that is a lot of fear porn. I'm not saying they're all good and holy and everything else, but you know, there's bad elements in every organisation, and Illuminati's, Freemasonry is no exception. I would like to say I'm wearing my special earrings. I don't know if you can see them, but they are. I put these on because of the topic. Because these are the rising sun iconography, which is very prevalent in Freemasonry and in Illuminati and those kind of societies, because it all goes back to Egypt. So I thought,
And
well,
the pyramids.
they
Pyramids, of course, yes. And the rising sun and the rising phoenix, the square and compass, all of these little symbols that are, everywhere that we, and raised as a Christian, all of that was so taboo. It was like, don't go anywhere near any of that stuff. It's witchcraft, it's sorcery, it's, oh my God. Well, come to find out, guys, it's like Pandora's box has been opened. Because when you listen to people's testimony and the things we're all going through, we are becoming illuminated. We're the Illuminati. And guess what? We're letting the secret out of the bag. We're telling people to go for it, to go through it. It's good. Before we went on live, I read to Mel what the actual definition. I just did a video called Illuminati. And the definition of the Illuminati is people claiming to possess special enlightenment or knowledge of something. Well, as we're going through this process, this journey, each and every one of us, we are becoming that special knowledge. I've known Mel for a little over a year now, and I've watched her go from glory to glory. And I want to tell you guys something. She's not Christian background. Her culture is different. She's in a whole other country, guys. I'll let her tell you guys a little bit about, where she thinks that she came, where she was a year ago, to her growth process. You can get, and I want to remind again now that the link is out, that if you're looking for Mel's channel, it is on my homepage. Please go to Mel's Table Talks and subscribe. She does some really wonderful shows over there, wonderful panel shows. Okay, Mel, a year ago to today, what have you learned about yourself and the growth? And just go for it.
Can I walk in 1 second? Because my pizza's just arrived. Sorry, I'll be right back. Hold on, I got to answer the door.
Hey, eat it if you got it, man. And save me some of that pizza. You need to share. I don't care if you have to ship it, FedEx overnight, or I don't know. Well, it might be cold. It's kind of a distance to go from, from the UK over here. Nah, just eat it all yourself, Mel. Enjoy. Okay, let me say hi to who's in the room. Who do we got? We got 7 people on an improv show. Hey, Captain. The Boom. Dark Wolf. You were first. Wow, you must have hit the reminder bell. Magi. Of course, Magi. We hear her haggling with the pizza guy. It's eavesdrop. She's like, no tip for you.
Such a long time, because nowhere did gluten free. And now I found somewhere did gluten free. So anyway.
Okay.
So when you say my transition from a year ago to now, are you talking about my knowledge of the Illuminati, or do you want something a bit more broad?
No, I'm talking about where were you a year ago? Where like the person that you were a year ago to the person you are today. The changes that you know from within you. This is called. This is. Let me read the other definition. I'm sorry, I forgot. Illuminated. Okay, I took the definition out for illuminated. Light up, gold or silver, illuminated. Which, guys, of a Christian background, we know that we are tried in the fire to become pure silver and gold, and also to clarify or explain a subject or matter. Okay, and as I have observed and through testimony, I am basically, with a Christian background, would say I'm watching my friends, no matter what their background and culture is, go from glory to glory. So the Mel that I met a year ago, who I really enjoyed and liked her, even at that moment, is a different Mel than I know today, and it's just getting better and better. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about her personal. So Mel, it's open. This is an improv show.
Okay, I'd say that a year ago I was more anxious, more less tolerant, for sure. Um, I was more judgmental. Definitely. I had my opinions of things, and I was less willing to listen to alternative viewpoints without being judgmental. And I've changed, I think, primarily because of the people I'm associated with in our Discord community. I'm learning from them, and also through experiences, through meditation, and also knowledge, learning actual knowledge by reading various authors, looking at their perspectives on things, learning a lot more about religion. And because I've always dismissed religion before as a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm like most British people, you know, we're not religious. We don't read the Bible or anything like that. So I've always dismissed it as being, you know, a bit childish and, you know, before. But now I'm learning actually that a lot of these religious texts hold a lot of truth in them, and they can be very informative about our origins, and more and more evidence is confirming the creationist theories. So yeah, I'm very interested and curious, but personally, my personal growth, it's more about learning to not judge people, I think, is the key word. To not you can have an opinion on somebody's behavior, you can have an opinion about somebody, but that's different from judging them. You know, you can have thoughts about somebody, but there's a difference between having an assessment of somebody's behavior and condemning them for that behavior, because everyone's at their own point in their journey, in their growth, on their own path. Nobody has any right to say that person is behaving really wrong. Not obviously within boundaries, but we all judge each other too much. I mean, and I think this is part of our popular culture, especially in the Western world. And you see it a lot on TV and films. It's all about judging others. You know, I'm trying to think of the American one. What's that American morning TV show where they had people on and they were fighting on stage? Can't remember what it was called. Jerry Springer. Things like that. You know, it's all about teaching you that it's okay to judge others. And, you know, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And that's it. I'll finish there.
Well, the differences that I've noticed is, yes, she is a very well read and knowledge woman. I mean, she's got a lot to offer, and where she had a viewpoint, let's say, for example, flat Earth glober. Okay, she was unbudgeable. She had no way that she was going to even view somebody else's perspective. She just, no. I know what I know, and I know what I know, and I know. She had her heels dug in. Where now, oh my gosh, she's so approachable. She's so kind. She's so soft. She views things from different perspectives. And, you know, and that's part of our growth process that we're all going through. So when we're talking about like the Illuminati and these secret societies, you know, I often wonder, as we're all going through this process, is the secret out? You know, we're all going through a transition, and it could have to do with, you know, the coming out of Pisces and going into Aquarius. But it just seems like a natural order of things. It's chaotic and you're going through it. I mean, like, I didn't know which way was up when this all first started happening. And but as you start to move through that process, your wilderness period, your dark night of the soul, as you're coming out towards the end of it, things start to look brighter, clearer, more in focus, and it's a beautiful transition. And it's like, if they had that as the secret, if that was the secret that they knew, think about this, guys. I saw a documentary where we were in a Freemasonic, they were showing us a Freemasonic lodge, okay? And on the altar, the only thing on the altar was the King James Bible. Okay. I just did a video about which God are you serving? And I talk about the Old Testament God, and I talk about Christ. How can you profess Christ when you're not bearing the fruits of Christ? Your own words will condemn you on which God you're serving, because if you are using scripture to judge somebody else, throwing stones at them and casting harsh judgments on them, well, that's the Old Testament God, guys. I mean, if you really just look at that book, it's just, they hide things in plain sight, and I think about Mel. I know you're reading the Old Testament now. I don't know if you've gotten to King David, and not King David. I'm sorry, Joseph. And Joseph was one of the favorite sons of Magi. Help me out there. I think it's Jacob. Yes, it was one of Jacob's sons. Benjamin and Joseph were by the woman that he loved the most, Rachel. Okay. And I think, Mel, you have kind of touched on that. Well, Joseph started, like, as I'm understanding now that story, he was having dreams and visions where he saw the hay bales all bowing down to him. He saw the sun and the moon paying homage to him. And then his brothers got jealous and, tossed him in a well. And then instead of killing him, they decided to sell him into slavery. And he ended up in Egypt. Well, it kind of sounds like he went through his wilderness journey, but no matter where he was at, things prospered under him because he popped out the other side and realized the very divine spark within himself, that pearl of great price. So it didn't matter if he was in the prison. They put him in the prison. It prospered. It didn't matter if he was working, as the manservant. He ended up being in charge of the whole house. And then the wife, of course, is the one that came on to him, and he rejected her, and then he ended up in the prison. And then he ended up being second to Pharaoh, okay, which would be, if you think about the iconography, that would be God, and he would be at the right hand, which is the shadow that needs to come, which would be Christ, okay? And even Christ went through his wilderness journey. And for us to proclaim Christ and not think that we're going to go through a wilderness time of darkness and pop out the other side, that's kind of egotistical. But I see people, and they use the very scriptures, the Holy Word, that beautiful book, to condemn other people. But by their own words, they're condemning themselves under which God? Do they believe Christ? Are they following Christ? Or and there's no wrong way. There isn't. We're all here to experience. But the Illuminati secrets, maybe they stemmed all the way back to Egypt. Maybe Joseph told the Pharaoh the very things that he knew and went through. And maybe that knowledge got sealed up. And here we are generations and generations later, and that book is being unsealed and given to all of us. What do you think about that, Mel?
Oh, sorry, I'm just muted.
Are you not listening to me? Are you just eating?
I am listening. Yeah, I mean, even about the Bible as you do. I've only just started to read it. I haven't got that far, and I think I'm looking forward to reading that part. It looks like a really interesting story. So this Joseph went to Egypt and was a slave.
Yes, he's Joseph, and he's actually called his the coat of many colors, which is another. Which to me reminds me of our chakra system, which is the rainbow in each of us, which is the promise of God. It's all there, no matter where you look. It's hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to talk about biblical stuff, Mel. You talk about what you know about, like Inky and Enlil, and how things can tie back to the diversity, the different things no matter what culture you're in, it's hidden in plain sight. The answers.
It is. It is all hidden in plain sight. Definitely. But I don't think. I think a lot of people believe that the Illuminati, they have all this secret knowledge, that they know the truth. And well, from what I've learned and read from members of the Illuminati, they don't. They really don't. They may have bits of the puzzle, specific pieces that have survived over the many thousands of years. However, so much of the knowledge has been lost that they're relearning it as well, what it really means. But the problem is, because knowledge has been lost over the years, you've got these various different sects that have broken off when there's been differences of opinions and differences in interpretation over the years of their knowledge. So today you have all of these different types of secret societies that all have slightly different variations and perceptions on the remnants of the knowledge that they once had. And I mean, do you want me to go into what I understand to be the origins of the
yes
Illuminati members? I don't want to be a bit too controversial on your show.
No, and you guys, I really am wanting to bring Mel up here, and remember, guys, on my homepage, her channel is listed there. It's Mel's Table Talk, and this is kind of just giving you guys a sampler. She does panel shows, and make sure you subscribe.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mel, go for it.
Okay. I mean, for your audience's sake, I'd recommend an author called Ralph Ellis. That's Ralphhellis. He's written many books over about a 30-year period. But he's done extensive research into biblical history. Now, I don't expect anybody to just listen to me and think, oh, yes, that's correct. What I would recommend is you read his work on this and judge for yourself, because the evidence to me is very, very strong on this. And there's a lot of archaeological evidence now, as well as coinage and all sorts of different avenues of evidence which are backing this up. But basically, he's come to the conclusion, after so many years of researching, that Jesus did exist. But what happened was, he was literally a king of the Jews, or some of the Jews. He was the first king born to the royal line in the new processional month at that age. So, and his actual name was, and this is a real historical character, King Manu the Sixth, I think, or it could have been the seventh, of Edessa. And he was a descendant of both the Persian, the Egyptian, and basically the equivalent of the Roman and North African royal lines. And he was incredibly powerful because of his lineage. He had a claim to the throne of all of these empires, most specifically the Egyptian, Persian, and Roman Empire. And when the Caesarship in Rome came up for grabs, he was one of the contenders for that. And his idea was to unite all of these empires into one empire with one ideology. And that ideology was the ideology of the Essene sect, Judaic sect. And the problem was, the other Judaic sects at the time weren't happy with that, because he was questioning them and saying a lot of the rules, etc., that they were at that time postulating were ridiculous. He was telling everybody, you don't need to go to churches or mosques, or not mosques, sorry, churches or synagogues or whatever they were called. You don't need to do that. God is within you. You are a child of God. So he was trying to give people freedom, whereas the other sects wanted to maintain the power structure. And of course, Rome wanted to maintain their power structure. They weren't happy about this at all. And because he was encouraging people to challenge authority. And the religion at the time was one of the main means of taxation in the region. So So anyway, there was a lot of pressure against him, and that's why it went down as it did. But the from his research, the Essene sect was the start of modern Templars, which went into Freemasonry and Illuminati, etc. So Masonry today, their actual constitution itself, according to Ralph Ellis, is the exact constitution of the Essene sect that Jesus was a member of, and or was actually promoting in his kingdom of Odessa, which he inherited from his parents. So, and his family at that royal line actually continued to live in this kingdom and rule this kingdom up to, I think it was, he said, the 3rd century AD, when they were eventually overrun by the Persians. It could have been a bit later, 5th century, but so basically, Jesus was taught he got a lot of his knowledge from Egypt, because his great grandmother, he claims, was Queen Cleopatra the 7th or 6th of Egypt, the famous Cleopatra of Egypt. So he was raised in the Egyptian traditions, and Judaism itself is an Egyptian ideology, and so this is the transition where we've got to today, because it all came out of Sumer into the various incarnations of that into Egypt. There was the split in Egypt, and when they changed the processional month from Taurus to the bull to the ram, and the Hyksos Jews were evicted from Egypt after a 22 year civil war. They settled in the Middle East and became the Judeans, and so this is a transition of this knowledge, this gnosis. And after what happened with Jesus and the persecution in the region of the Christians, which wasn't really Christians, because Christianity wasn't a thing yet, it was the Essene sect of the Jews, and his family, the persecution of their empire from Rome because of what had happened. The only way they could continue teaching these principles really was to go into hiding, and that's what started the Templar traditions, and all of those traditions, which today we have Freemasonry, Illuminati, and all of those. But that's not to say that some of them aren't doing bad things. There's bad people in every ideology, and all knowledge can be used for good and bad. And we're like 2,000 years on, so it's a long time ago when it all that began. But I think people need to be aware there's a lot of propaganda out there, a lot of fear mongering out there, for a variety of reasons from a variety of sources. And this is where your discernment comes in. Don't just assume because you've watched YouTube videos that are telling you, these Illuminati are trying to wipe most of humanity out and all of this. Don't just assume that that's correct. Do some research, do some reading, speak to some people in these organizations, learn about them. I mean, Ralph Ellis has said in his books, the summation of his research, he actually went and did a presentation of this in front of the top Freemason person in the United Kingdom, the top one in London. They had no clue. They were astounded. They didn't know this because all of this knowledge has been lost. So yeah, do your research. Don't just get yourself into that mindset of, they're all trying to kill us off. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't stuff out there that is doing that, but there's a lot of different reasons for that. And don't just blame the occult, the Illuminati, etc., because in this day, it may be controversial to say this, but it is true. In his day, Jesus's ideology was a cult in his time, because it wasn't the prevalent ideology of the region at the time. So his was considered a cult. So just bear that in mind.
And it seems like,
getting
the echo. Is that from you, Mel? Okay, I don't hear it anymore.
No.
Okay. It seems like the very teachings that that Christ put out there for everybody, the translations have been lost. And they're coming back. People, they're coming back to us. The promises, it's all being stirred up. We're all remembering who and what we are. So, like I said, the Illuminati, secret societies. You're right. Over time, I don't think that they even realize. I think they had like the carnal knowledge of it, and that's where we get like the news broadcasting and these movies, so they can spread these ideas out amongst all the people, so that people can manifest and create, what they're trying to have us create. Because at the basic level, I do think they understand how powerful that we are at our essence. That, if you can get us to believe something, we can actually make it. We can. And I think about this, and this is in the Bible. Christ talked about, he was in Galilee, but the miracles could not be performed there. But when he went to other places where they didn't know him, where he wasn't raised and things like that, and he told people the good news, these manifestations happened. So as he was telling them the good news about himself and they believed it, the healings happened instantaneously. So a lot of times, and it says, a prophet isn't worth, in their own country, in their own city. So you have to go somewhere else, and then you can proclaim this information to people. And when you proclaim who and what they are, the freedom resonates in them, and then the miracles manifest. And it's not because of the person, it's not the messenger. It is actually, you could say, God, because it is God, that the breath of life is in each and every one of us, but it ignites, it stirs that within them. They can see it, they can hear that message, and bam, the miracle is done. So some things to think about, guys, on why did he say that? He said those very things, and there's a reason for that. A lot of people, even in the ME community, we're like, our own families don't see this stuff, and we're just like, we get so frustrated. But think about this, guys. When you talk to somebody else who isn't, personally on your day-to-day life, they receive what you're saying. They'll give it more consideration, and then bam, the manifestations start happening with them. It's just, like I said, it just seems like the Illuminati. I mean, the reason I brought this topic up is because of my owl. Okay, my magi sits here with me. So, and the owl to me is sacred because there was, and I've had him on my live streams a couple times. There was a man that I came across at the very right time who put me back, knocked the doubt out, uncluttered the confusion that was going on, that I was having an inner battle with myself, set me basically back up on my feet, which he could not do that. I had to get back up on my own feet, and he'll be the first one to tell you that because he's so humble and sweet. But it was like a divine appointment. I was meant to be there. The words that he said put me up on my feet, and boom, I went after it. I just, it started with baby steps, and then I started running and faster and faster. And it is like that, guys. It's like, okay, you start off as an infant because it is a new walk. We were talking about, Mel has gotten some QHHT session done, and said that she's going to, I think in her next life, she's not going to return to 3D. Well, we're talking about that now. And anybody that's had that Holy Spirit or that spiritual cleansing, you feel transported over. It's enrapturing, it's the harpazo, the catching away. And at that moment, oh my gosh, it's so pure, so cleansing. It's so beautiful. And you want to stay in that moment forever, but then it stops. Okay. But then I thought, I would never get that moment back. But a couple of weeks later, it came back. And then as more time goes on, you stay in that higher realm. And then you come down, you pop back and forth. We are amazing beings. We are so much more than we have ever been led to believe. And I just see that the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. There's many of us that are, we're speaking up, we're telling our testimonies, we're giving our truths, and to help other people that are still having their wilderness period, their dark night of the soul, or maybe they haven't even started their walk yet, and that's okay too. But if they're due and they're seeking after that truth and they're really going after it, we're just trying to help and be there by our testimonies for people to be able to take on and move forward. What I noticed with Mel is she's looking younger. She's got a beautiful glow about her now. She is so approachable. She is not haughty and high-minded. It's not her way or the highway anymore. It's like that old Mel is so far in the rear view. But I'm going to tell you guys, I liked Mel from the moment I met her, and I'm going to tell you guys that there's nothing that she's going through that I didn't go through myself. But what you find here is what that little still small voice, and then you've got these many voices talking around you, trying to tell you do it their way. That those voices are louder at first, and the still small voice is muffled out. But as time goes on, your inner voice starts to be your guidance, and those outer voices start to fade away. And it's a beautiful thing, guys, because you think about, let's think about the apostles. They went from city to city. They didn't set up churches. They went city to city. They gave the news, they planted those seeds, and they sprung up, okay? And then the other people, as they sprung up and went through their, started their journeys, and, then they began to tell other people, and then so on and so on. Somewhere along the line, somebody wanted to snuff that out. Doesn't mean that the knowledge of it went away. It just means that somebody wanted to keep the paradigm the way it was, the control matrix. But we're coming into a time, guys, that we're realizing who and what we are, the very breath of life that's in every single one of us, or we wouldn't be animated. And the very manifestations that take place around us start reflecting out around us on what's going on inside, automatically starts reflecting around us on the outside. I know I promised a video on my testimony. My husband has to film it for me because I was heading into a scooter chair. I was very disabled with the leg lifts and everything. And I was on a cane. I was hunched over. It was awful. And from where I was there in 2012 to where I am now, you guys wouldn't believe it. I'm going to have to pull some pictures up. I was over 200 pounds too, guys. It's like, it's a total renewing of the way I think about food. If I think food is going to make me fat, it makes me fat. If I think I want food just because it tastes good and it's not going to have that effect on me, it doesn't. It's just, oh my God, it's a new understanding. It's a complete renewing of our mind. It's a paradigm shift. So with the Illuminati, what I would say is, guys, let's all be in the Illuminati. It's not a good old boys club anymore. It's for everybody. Mel, did you get enough to eat there? Are you ready? Are you ready to talk? Well, I was trying to give you time to have your lunch, or your supper.
Thank you. Yeah, you can actually join the Illuminati. They're recruiting. You can go on their website.
No, thank you. I like to freely I get, freely I want to give. So I think we're in the Illuminati. We just don't know it yet. We've been going through the hazing.
Yeah. Seriously, what people forget is that if it wasn't for, I mean, are we using the term Illuminati to apply to all of these secrets of brotherhoods, all the different forms that have existed over, the last 1500 years or more in Europe? if it wasn't for these secret societies, we would never have had the Reformation. We would still be ruled by the Roman Catholic Church and the Inquisition. And that is true. If it wasn't for them scheming behind the scenes, marrying in and all the royal families, getting a power structure in place, they would never have been able to separate church and state. King Henry VIII would never have even though he did it for his own personal reasons, it was his advisors who were members of his brotherhoods who were advising him with the Calvinists and all of the new Protestant versions from Europe. That would never have actually taken hold. And Europe and Britain would still be ruled by Roman Catholic from Rome, and we'd all be subject to the Inquisition. We certainly wouldn't be able to talk like this. So I think people need to, I mean, I didn't realize this. It's only from my reading of history that I've understood these concepts, that if it wasn't for these actual institutions, we would not be where we are today. Now, while it's true that certain individuals in those institutions seem to have used their positions to feather their own nests at the expense of the majority, while that is certainly true, on the whole, there's been a lot of good that's come out of it for everybody. And, you know, I don't know whether, I mean, there probably are groups of people who think we should be ruled by, you know, religious institutions. I mean, I and most of the people over here do not agree with that, do not think that, because, you know, unless you have the three-tiered governance system where you have religion, you have monarchy, and you have governance, there is no checks and balances. And that's a massive problem. And this system of governance goes right back to the basically to Sumer, this system of governments. So, you know, we lost that for a while, whereas one institution got too powerful, and, you know, we would not have the freedoms we have today if that wasn't for the actions behind the scenes, necessarily behind the scenes, because they were subject to persecution as well by the Inquisition, terrible persecution. If it wasn't for that, we would not be where we are today. And so yeah, I'm just saying that so people get a different perspective on it, and don't think it's all bad and all evil and everything else. I mean, you know, yeah, that's it. We're finished.
Great, and there's a lot of truth in that. Is, you know, it just seems like, you know, everything it's in plain sight, and it's like our eyes are popping open, and we're seeing it, we're observing it, we're able to you know, see with our own eyes and get the understanding. Things are becoming clearer and clearer as we walk this out daily. And it, you know, I talk about my journey and how I say, you know, it hasn't always been easy, guys. It hasn't always been easy. But you think about like fraternities and stuff when they haze people and stuff. Okay, it's like it is almost like a hazing. You know, you may circle around to something that you've already been through before and seem like you're going in circles, but actually, you know, you're not. You're at a higher perspective of it, and it's to see how you're going to handle it, and you'll see within yourself how you handle things so much differently. I mean, you know, it's a beautiful thing, guys, and you know, I often talk about, you know, the age of duality, Pisces, going into the age of Aquarius, dawning of a new age, going into the golden age, the age of knowing, the age of understanding. And we do seem to be backing ourselves away from the control systems, taking our sovereignty back and creating what it is that we want. And when we create what we want, our heart is into it, and it's to benefit everybody. It gets rid of those hierarchies, those control grids. You know, when enough of us pop through, I can see a future where all that stuff just falls away, crumbles in on itself, because at our heart and at our nature, just like I talk about the two different gods, with and by your own words, you will reveal which God that you are serving. Well, when more people are under the New Testament, Christ, okay, I'm just going to go with with my cultural, my background, and they're using their heart, they're showing patience and kindness and long suffering and forbearance with one another. We will create a world that is good for everybody, no exclusions, because we see that when you look at everybody's eyes, their unlimited potential, the beauty that is within each and every single one of us. And if you're wanting somebody, if you're wanting to be above somebody else, you're pretty much telling on yourself, saying, well, I think I'm better than you. When the truth is, and this is the truth, you're not better. We're all created equal. We all have the same gifts. We all have the same breath of life. We all have the same gifts available to each of us, but it seems like people are going after what their passion is. And instead of punching that clock in, like, just to get that paycheck, we're going after things that we love and we enjoy. And it's like, don't get in our way. We're following our heart and our passion. And it's something that is going to be, it's something that is good for everybody. It's not something that's going to fluff up our own bank account. It's something that is going to benefit the world over. The manifestations that we talked about this, I'm thinking it was maybe about 6 months ago, in our chat forum, about wanting clean water. That is something that will improve the lives of so many people, even our little sea animals, and even our big sea animals. If we think about it, and let's say if we're focused on that nuclear issue or whatever with Japan, okay, oh, it's all poison, oh, doom and gloom. We're manifesting that, guys. Now, if you think there's nothing there that can harm it, it's all going to be pure, nature takes care of itself, we will naturally manifest, and everything will be clean, everything will be pure, everything will be perfect. So, those are just some examples of where we're heading to. And it's exciting. It's really exciting to see the progression that I see in our community and the development that I see in our community. We get some green people in there, some newbies, but that's okay too, because everybody has to start somewhere. And, if you want to think that because I have I'm in the Illuminati, I'm okay with that. Label me how you want, because labels don't matter to me. I'm not going to worry about those things, because in my heart, I know the truth. I'm getting to know myself, who and what I am. And by getting to know myself on who and what I am, I'm getting to know everybody else on who and what everybody else is. Doesn't matter if they're asleep, awake, Old Testament, New Testament, God, none of that matters. Doesn't matter. I see the beauty in it all. And I see a future as we are all going through this. Like I said, mine started at home. It wasn't at a church, guys. It started at home. And Mel here, she doesn't have any church affiliation, but she's going through her process of purification. So the books, those books, they're in several different books, different ways of putting the same type of scenario that we're all going through, and we all have our testimonies, and you can't take that from us. When you have those experiences, nobody can take that from you. Just like somebody having a Mandela effect, you're not going to tell them that, no, see, that's I see Abe Lincoln on the penny, guys. I don't see Caesar. So it's for them to say Caesar's face is on the penny. You're not going to convince me of that, because Caesar, that's Abe Lincoln. Okay. I mean, you get my point with what I'm trying to say. It's a beautiful process that we're all going through. It's that fear, the fear of the Illuminati, fear of Freemason, fear of, don't just, if you're watching television and it makes you feel small, or they're showing you these huge problems that you feel like you can't do anything about, Stop watching that. Just set that stuff down. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're seeing something, we'll go back to Japan and that earthquake with that nuclear issue. The truth of it is, you can do something about it. You can take that and you can say, I'm not going to accept that. That water's clean and pure, and all that ocean life is going to be just fine. And just from you starting that, it will begin to, pick up more momentum and become that little pebble rolling, and then becomes this big snowball. And then bam, the water's pure. You know it. You just don't know the very power and the very gifts and the very abilities that are in each and every one of us. They do. That's why they put out broadcasting. Think about, okay, Mel, let's talk about something a little more creepy. Those Georgia Guidestones, okay? If they're wanting to keep humanity at under, 500,000, right? Okay. They can control 500,000, okay? We're 7 billion strong, guys. You can't control 7 billion. We're waking up. We're pulling the crusties off our eyes. And I want to see what you think about that. What do you think, Mel? What do you think about those? Have you heard of those Georgia Guidestones, and what do you think about them? Oh my gosh, I lost her. We're gonna have to wait. She's gonna have to pop back in. She did something on her computer and lost service. Okay, what about you guys in the chat? What do you guys think of those Georgia Guidestones, and what do you think is going on there? And also, while I'm waiting for Mel to come back, her channel is on my homepage, and she does panel chats and with large groups, and there's a lot of information, and definitely worth your time to go and listen to those. It's absolutely wonderful. The people that she brings on are from all different backgrounds, but the information that is provided out to people is amazing. Can you guys just give me, just a few seconds? Let me see what's going on with Mel. I know we've got 14 in the room. I want to keep going for you guys since you're here. I also want to get to know, a few of you, and make sure, oh, she's coming back in. Make sure you guys hit the like, please, and subscribe, and the reminder bell, so that way you can get notified when we do these improv live shows. Okay, Mel, before you crashed out, did you hear the question that I asked you about? Okay, have you heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Then I will go ahead and let you give your answer. Thank you.
What you want me to say? What I know about them?
I want to know what you think about them. What do you think that they want? Why would they want to keep 500,000? Is it for a more controllable number, or do you think maybe the 500,000 would all be illuminated, or just what's your opinion on it?
Probably there is a faction out there who think that the solution to maintain the existing types of economies and power structure, with bearing in mind technological progression and the state of human health at the moment, is to massively depopulate. I mean, it is a legitimate solution to a myriad of problems, but it doesn't mean that all our governments want to do that. It's nobody even really knows for sure who paid and erected them, which faction of these secret societies it was. So just because they're there does not mean that that's policy. And obviously population control is, I mean, that's just, that would be there anyway. But massive depopulation on that scale, no, I think don't don't pay that much attention to it, and don't let it worry you too much. And just keep an eye on things. And at the end of the day, our elites can only govern us with our consent and cooperation. So we do have the power, we just don't realize it. And we don't actually use it. And in reference to something you were saying earlier, Michele, you were saying about manifestation and how we're going to make a better world for everybody. And I'm just putting myself back to what I probably would have felt about somebody saying that a year ago. And at that point, I would have thought, well, that's ridiculous, because what about, serial killers, people who harm children and things like that? Well, I don't want a world that's going to be good for them, if that's what they want to do. But so in benefit of viewers who might still be at that place and thinking things like that when somebody makes a statement like Michele did, look into something called a process called entrainment. Because the way this works is, if the majority of humans on the planet actually do no longer have this fear, this constant anxiety, and have started the process of awakening and open themselves up to feeling that feeling of universal love and unconditional acceptance, and start to understand our connectivity and that we're all one. Once the majority of humans are practicing and feeling that and thinking that for truth every day, then the minority of humans who are not, automatically their process through that path will be speeded up, because their frequencies will entrain to the majority frequency on it. And if the majority frequency on a planet is about tolerance, acceptance, and love, and non-judgment, then everybody's frequency will shoot right up to match that. So it's not a case of being tolerant means allowing anybody to do anything. It's about understanding that everyone's on their own path, and there are many different reasons why people behave the way they do. And we will entrain, the majority will entrain the few. Because now we're aware of this process, we're aware of how it works, and we're taking conscious control of it, then the effects of that are going to be really enhanced a great deal. And some viewers might be thinking, well, what about if we are being controlled by reptilian, interdimensional, or extraterrestrial entities? The reports of these beings are that they're incredibly telepathic, and they're very powerful psychically, and they have lots of superhuman powers. But again, the lower frequency entities, if they do exist and they are here, they're at a lower frequency. So as the average frequency of the planet's consciousness rises too far above theirs, they can no longer remain at their frequency and remain here. So either they have to entrain or they have to leave. So these fears, etc., are well founded. These thoughts of like I was just describing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that to make a planet that suits everyone's needs doesn't necessarily mean that you have to suit the needs of those who want to harm others. I just wanted to reassure people about that.
And the other night, Mel and I watched a movie called Land of Lost. And they were talking about, getting, renewable fossil fuels. And I just love that movie because the character that Will Ferrell plays, he's like, oh, get, renewable fossil fuels. He's like, no, time machine. I know that I go there and I'll grab the resources and bring them in. Well, we see things that are put out, in movies and other things, that there's truth in that, guys, because really, when we understand who and what we are, there is really no shortage of anything, because we can manifest, and there's plenty for everyone. I think about, when Christ was with the 4 or 5,000 and he fed them the fishes and the bread, and the food just manifested for them. There was plenty for all. So when we sit there and worry about shortage and scarcity, that is something that is trying to limit us. And try it's a control. It's a type of control. And we've got to get to the point where we're like, no, no, no. I know the truth. I know the truth. It's within me, that pearl of great price. You've got it. And it takes a while to walk in this total new understanding. And it's going to take a while for people to move along. But by the amount that I see in the Mandela effect, number synchronicities, dreams and visions, the empathetic hearts breaking wide open, all these things that, are happening within so many people. I think about the Mayan calendar and how it counted down to, what was it? 12/21/2012. Okay. And it's number synchronicity right there, guys. And we dawned into a new age. And a lot of people I've spoke to, they woke up in 2012. Some people think they died because it's so magical what is going on within them, and they don't quite understand what is real and what is not. And you do get that feeling of confusion of, I've lost my way a little bit. But it's just like learning to walk again, guys. Like I said, you've got to go 1 foot at a time. You're going to fall just like a toddler learning to walk. They fall on their butt, but they have a diaper on, so it's a padded fall. And just think, you've got one on too. So when you do fall, it is a padded fall. And then you get back up and you walk a little further. And every time, you guys, no matter what you think, even though you fall, you're still growing. You're moving along. Think of that spiral staircase. Think of Jacob's ladder. There's so many parables out there, guys, for us to look at that talk of this very thing. Christ tells them, when they're setting up for the Last Supper, to follow the man with the picture of, not picture, tongue-tied. I do this to you guys all the time. That pitcher of water. So, and what is that? What's the sign in the sky? We're going into the age of Aquarius. I mean, it's just an amazing time to be alive. I have a whole new lease on life. From dark depression, heading into a scooter chair, to, swimming in my pool, talking with you guys, meeting wonderful people, and just, it's an amazing transformation, guys. I've changed so much that I don't recognize the old me. And I did that video about which God are you serving. I was that Old Testament God. I was judging people and using scripture, And then you go through that transformation. The water baptism that we go through in the church is symbolic, okay? Everything is a shadow of things to come. And I'm telling you guys, we are in it. We're in the thick of it. Don't lose hope. Don't get into fear. Follow it through. Keep going. No matter how dark you think things are, that just means when you pop out, it's going to be that much brighter. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And like Mel, she's a completely different person because she's going through her transformation. And it doesn't matter what your religious or your cultural or none of that. God is not a respecter of persons. No. And, and that's what, it breaks my heart because, being raised a Christian, and we are to feed the hungry. We are to shelter the homeless. But those are just surface things, guys. Those are carnal things. But and it even says in the Bible that we put away those carnal things and we walk by the Spirit. It is a new walk because you've got faith, and it's faith abundantly because you understand who and what you are and what you're able to do. It's not going to be a matter of feeding one homeless person or putting one homeless person to a shelter. It's going to be a matter of a grand scale of just a complete change of how things are going to just go here on this place that we are at. I don't care if it's flat. I don't care if it's round. If there's polar opposites, guys, you got to realize that more than likely neither of them are right. But also, both of them could be right. Because as manifestors, if I was a staunch flat earth supporter, I could be creating a flat earth. Okay? It's like that, guys. And if I'm a globe earth and I'm a staunch globe earther, I'm manifesting that. But we need more people in our group, and that's why I think they use like the Illuminati uses television, news, broadcasting to get us to create the world that they're wanting us to create. Well, like I said, Pandora's box is open. So if they're in a secret society, um, I'm letting the cat out of the bag, guys. As I learn new things, I'm sharing them. I'm telling people, because the more of us that know, the more of us that get this understanding, the faster we will grow. The more beautiful this place looks. We talk about 5D, and Dolores Cannon talked about moving to a new earth. Okay, it's gonna feel like that, guys, because you do feel like you're on a new earth, because all of that 3D stuff that you don't see that stuff anymore. You could be walking side by side with somebody, and they're seeing one thing. They're like, they've got terror in their eyes, and you're walking right next to them and you're seeing paradise, and you're like, what are you afraid of? And maybe they're looking at a purple cloud in the sky, and it's frightening the heck out of them, and you're looking at the purple cloud saying, wow, that is so beautiful. So it's all in perception. It is a renewing of our mind. Do you have anything to add to that, Mel? What's your thoughts?
Wow, you said quite a lot there. um, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not too sure about what to think about this 5D Earth. Whether it's, I know we've discussed this many times, and I'm not too sure whether it's a completely new planet, realm, whatever plane, whatever your preferred choice of word is, descriptor is, or whether it's just this place that's going to be refreshed, if you like. And I'm not sure either of those actually are correct. And I think it's most likely to be both this place and a new place, because it will be, in my opinion, somewhere that exists in the same space as this one, but simply at a different frequency range, like a different TV channel. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what to think of that. I mean, would I go? I mean, this is a question I've thought about many times. I've heard reports of portals opening and people walking through these portals and going to this new place full time, if you like. Would I go if that happened to me? And honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And it's not that I wouldn't want to. It's that I'd be concerned about those left behind. And so yeah, I mean, I've got very mixed views and mixed feelings about this new 5D Earth. Dolores Cannon, what she said about it, and I've got mixed views about people's motivations for wanting to be there as well.
That's kind of how I felt in the beginning when I had that what I call the Holy Spirit baptism. My heart was breaking, thinking that people would be left behind. But as my understanding grows, which yours will too, as time goes on, it's a renewing, more information comes in and comes through. You'll see that it's not a certain chosen select people. It's an everybody thing. It's going to affect everybody. Now, we don't take away people's sovereignty. Everybody has the right to choose. if they're wanting to have that physical 3D experience, and that's what that's okay. It's okay. You could be standing right next to them having a, like that's what I was just talking about. The two people could be walking down the street and one taken and the other left, but nobody has went actually anywhere. Both of them are still walking side by side. They're just seeing two completely different things. And it's in perception, and what I've noticed that almost everybody I've come encounter with whether it's Mandela, synchronicities, spirituality, they're seeking the truth, no matter what the cost. And if you are pushing for that truth, no matter what the cost, you will get it. And Mel, I know that you are in it. You are in it for the long haul. And let's give these guys an idea here. They know that mine started in 2012. Let's let people know when yours started. So this will also give people a lot of hope, because although she's still questioning and got things going on, wait till she tells you how long she's been on this journey, and you can see with your own eyes her glow, how beautiful her smile, and how what she was saying, about herself a year ago to how she is now. So yeah, Mel, how long have you been actually on this truth mission, or had your what was it, a spiritual awakening, or I can't remember exactly how you described it, but I know the time length in it. It's really going to surprise people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how to describe it really, but what label to apply to it. I'm uncomfortable with saying, as you're comfortable saying, the Holy Spirit baptism, because that's not really a comfortable term to use over here.
And that's okay.
I suppose it did start in 2012, and that's when things started to change for me, emotionally, and my life started to change in a variety of different ways, and I started going through this process of self-reflection, of deep self-reflection, and learning about myself primarily, and learning about other people that in my life. I started to see them in different ways, in new ways, and relationships changed. But then it was at the end of I think it was 2013. It could have been 2012. I can't quite recall, but I know it was about a week before Christmas, when, because of certain circumstances at the time, a bit like you felt, I felt this access, this feeling come over me, of, I suppose you could call it, the Holy Spirit. Is what I think many people would call it, that if it happened to them in a church. And I can completely understand, if I was in a church at the time and praying or whatever, and that happened, that would be absolute 100% convinced that my religion was absolutely right and I was on the right path, and my God was the right God. I can completely understand if that happens to somebody when they're in a church or in a prayer setting, how that could be interpreted. For me, it wasn't anything like that. I was begging for help from spirit, because my cat was missing, and the help and the reassurance came. Now, it did make me wonder. I think the words I probably used in my head at the time was, "Oh crap, does this mean God's real?" And I made some promises that I would actually attend church with an open mind, and I would look into it. It got me interested in religion, because it was like, oh no, what if I've always been wrong?
Well,
God is real.
I have given testimony that in 2001 I started having dreams and visions, and the doctor's like, "Here, take this pill. You're having night terrors." But I guess I should have been a little more clear. You had told me that it was about 18 months ago, a month ago, so it would be like 19 months now, that you started, like, where I would talk about what happened with me in 2012, because I was like, wow, how far you've come in such a short amount of time is what I was trying to get across to people, that people go through different things at a different pace, and how rapidly the evolution has happened within you. So I don't want people to think, oh my gosh, I haven't even begun this, and she started 2012, it's 2018. I was trying to let people know about your testimony you gave me about the 18 months ago, but that was about a month ago that you told me about that. That's the change that I was wanting you to talk about. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, about 18 months ago was when I first found out about the Mandela effect, and I've changed a great deal in that time period in terms of my personality and how I view other people and how I treat other people. And compared to the changes I went through between 2012 up to that point, there's a massive exponential increase in the rate of change in the last 18 months, I would say. It was, I think the first few years were more about learning about analyzing myself and my past and my life. And the last 18 months was applying that new knowledge in my behaviors, in how I behaved and treated other people. So yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about that. Sorry. But yeah, it's I mean, I know I have changed an awful lot in 18 months, and my family and I've said that, like I've returned to, I kind of think I've returned more to how I was when I was a child and early teens, in terms of personality.
And about the gifts, excuse me, guys, the gifts
that
got stirred up within you that you are now utilizing in your daily life. Let's talk about that, because that's one of the big things. In 2012, that was when the gifts got activated, and I was like, what? And like I said, I thought everything was backwards and inverted. And what I'm trying to express, guys, is that there is no set amount of time that that each of us go through it. It just depends on how many filters we have in our mind. I had a lot of religious dogma that was pushing me down. She did not. So her maturing or growth in this new understanding is much more expedient. She had to overcome old things that she thought that she knew, because it's a renewing of our mind. But now she is getting what I would call comfortable to actually express and utilize the gifts that bring her passion. So when did that all start? When did the fire get lit under your tuchus to go forward with the very gifts that you have within yourself, Mel?
Yeah, that would have been after October 2016. And I started to different gifts started to manifest. Precognition, manifestation. I was told something that I was doing was channeling, so I call it channeling, and remote viewing.
Which Christians would call prophecy or praying in tongues.
Well, speaking in tongues is something I did as a child. I've done most of my life, and but in terms of my illness, it kind of stopped when I was about 16, I think, and it's just started again like in the last 12 months. Not as prevalent as when I was a child, but definitely in the past 12 months. And it seems that many of these gifts I had as a child, but they all seem to stop when I was about 16. And then they seem to have come back, been reactivated, especially in the past 12 months or so. And which reminds me of the scriptures, isn't it? That we should return to a childlike state, something along those lines in the scriptures. You'll know better than me about that.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, it's the tinnitus. That's never been a problem for me, because I had it as a child, every single night I would go to bed, I'd have tinnitus, and I'd have the sensation of falling backwards. And so for me, when the tinnitus comes, it's a comforting thing. It's almost like I interpret it now as a connection to source. So when spirit is near, whatever you want to call it, for some of us we get tinnitus, and so for me it reminds me of it gives me a feeling of safety, of being loved, being connected. So I know for many people though it's new and it's very upsetting. But I don't get the number synchronicities, or at least I don't notice them. So that's not something that affects me. But synchronicities, yes, all the time in terms of other types of synchronicities.
It's funny you say that you don't get the synchronicities, but by your own testimony, it's very synchronistic, and it would resonate with a Christian person. You say that you remote view, that's prophecy. You say that the spirit, you feel the spirit. That's the Holy Spirit that we would call. The gifts that you're operating in are the gifts of the Spirit. And I have to say, that's why I said God is not a respecter of persons, guys. Once we drop the labels and stop thinking of ourselves as elect or chosen, and even when she's talking about that, she said she would stay behind because she didn't want to move on to. That's what I got. That's what, I was afraid that this rapture was going to happen, which is a Christian doctrine, and my loved ones being left behind. I mean, everything she's saying is synchronistic, even though she's saying she doesn't have a synchronicity. And the tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, guys, so many people are affected with ringing, and that is a biggie. I have ringing in my ears, sometimes up to 3 tones. What I do when I have the ringing in my ears, and I don't know, Mel, you might want to try this and see where you go with it, because you're really good with your meditative states, which we would call prayer. Yes, it's just different words for the same thing, guys. But I try to follow it back. I try to sit there and just focus on, if I'm hearing 3, I'll try and pick one and just quietly sit there and just follow it back to see where it leads me to. And it's amazing the things that I will see. It's just something that, comes with practice, and, we learn and we grow daily. It's just a beautiful thing. But it is funny, guys. I know that people in the chat probably heard, you say you don't have synchronicities, but here we are having synchronicity after synchronicity after synchronicity.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I just don't see the numbers all the time, the 111s and the 444s or whatever people see. I was told, a friend told me they probably do happen. I just don't notice them. But then
you will now.
I don't want to notice. I know, because I've been talking about this for a long time. To be honest, I know I get synchronicities. I know there's something going on, and for me, it would be irrelevant if I did see them or not. So they just wouldn't be important to me, I don't think. So maybe I was told that perhaps that's why maybe I don't see them.
You have that understanding. You were talking, you did an actual short video on your channel about chemtrails, and you were like, what I don't think about them, they're not there. But then I think about them, and look, and you videoed that you had a chemtrail. Well, people see the numbers and stuff, because they're thinking about them, they're going to see them. You don't think about them, then you won't. It's called, you're manifesting. Do you see the similarity?
Do you know how I interpret that? When people see the same numbers all the time, the way I interpret that is that what's going on is we are all learning to be finally drivers of our own vehicles, and so for most people, it's like they're asleep behind the wheel. Their vehicle is driving them. They're not in control of their emotions. They're not in control of their reactions. They're not in control of their behaviors. And we are learning to be more in control. We are learning to drive these vehicles. Part of that learning process is having more conscious control on things like your circadian rhythm and your time sense. For example, most people think they need an alarm clock to wake up at a certain time. You don't need an alarm clock at all. All you have to do, and give this a try, is when you're in bed, when you're going to sleep, say you want to wake up at, I don't know, let's pick a time, 8 o'clock. Then picture a clock in your mind. See a round clock. You can do it digital if you want, it doesn't matter. But see the clock, see it in detail, and see the hands or the time at the time that you want to wake up. Then let the image go. Then do it again. You do this 3 times. And I guarantee you, you will wake up just before that time. And this I learned years ago. So for me, I think the reason people are seeing these times, these specific numbers everywhere, is because they are becoming in more conscious control of themselves. And so they have got a suggestion in their mind that this numbers or sequence of numbers is now significant. Therefore, you know, your eyes see everything all the time. You never forget a single bit of detail of what you see throughout your entire life. You're just not consciously able to access all that information, but your brain sees it all. So when your brain sees these numbers, you've got that suggestion in your head that's significant, then your subconscious alerts your conscious mind to look, and you see it. And I think this is all about this process of us learning that we are in control. We can program ourselves, and we are in control. And it's like flexing a muscle. It's like learning how to do something. But I do believe that everyone's doing it subconsciously, because it's just part of this process, and it's almost like their subconscious or their higher self is poking them in the back and saying, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." But yeah, give it a try with the visualization of the clock thing, and you'll see it works. So obviously, if you're on, you know, sleeping tablets or you're drunk or whatever, then it probably won't work. But yeah, give it a go.
Thing, that tool, like, stop thinking about them, because she did a test, and through her test, she proved that when she didn't think about them, beautiful sky. As soon as she thought about them, there was one in the sky. So, you know, these tests, and we're, you know what, even in scripture, we're told to test all things, right? Another synchronicity, whether or not she's having synchronicities from her speaking. They're like, I'm having like bing, bing, bing synchronicities go on right and left. So, and guys, here's just another reminder. If anybody has popped in since, you know, later, Mel's Table Talk is on my homepage. She does panel shows, and she has, you know, about 6 people on the panel from all different walks of life and background. Talks about so many different topics, dives so deep into them. Please make sure you subscribe. After the stream is over, I will put her link in the show more notes. And make sure that you like and sub and subscribe here. Hit the notification bell, because you never know when her and I, and the same on her page, you never know when we're going to creep up on you and just pop, and we'll be on live. Okay, back to what we were talking about with manifesting chemtrails. You know, now that we know that that's a possibility, I look at when she tells me something, and she's done her testing and she experiments, I believe her. I take her testimony and I apply it in my own life. And she's right. And, you know, and it's all in renewing our mind, guys. We are will be so, and on what's going on around you, and your heart is cracked wide open, and you want betterment for everybody. Guess what? You will be bigger. You will be able to affect other people around you in a good way. But also, we need to take into account sovereignty and respect for each other, because I don't want to impose my will over the top of somebody else's. I don't want somebody else imposing their will over the top of mine. And as we become more self-aware, we realize that, and we start to, and it is like a dance, and we show the mutual respect and dance with each other. We're this control system that we're in now, guys. We're breaking out of that, just like she said. We're becoming the programmers instead of being programmed, and it's a wonderful time to be alive. I mean, my goodness, we're limitless. There's no lack. The only reason there would ever be lack is because we think there's lack, so therefore we manifested lack. And it all has to do with perception. And I was bringing up earlier, in the scriptures, Christ himself could not perform miracles in Galilee because, he said a prophet is not, he wasn't taken at his word. They didn't think that he had went through his wilderness journey, or, they didn't take what he was saying to heart. Okay. But I tell you, whenever he went somewhere else, he was able to do miracle after miracle after miracle. So you may not see it in your own family, but that's okay. Other people will hear you. And when, and it'll resonate with them, it will stir up the gifts within them, and they'll be activated, and then they will go, because each of us, every single one of us, is so important. We are in this together. Even if we think we're separated, we're not. That's a lie. We are all connected. We have so much more in common. And even if you start with just tearing back and getting down to just the basic things we have in common. We all eat, we all sleep, we love to be hugged, we communicate, we express ourselves. Just get down to the bare minimums of what we have in common. This was brought up when I had Bob and Magi on this stream, and this was a beautiful tool. If there's 10 qualities, on somebody, 9 of them they're undesirable. You just don't care about them, okay? But 1 is a beautiful quality. So then you just don't focus on the 9, you focus on the 1, and then you watch the other 9 just manifest. At this point, where we're at, that's what we need to be looking for. We need to find whatever that common strand is that we all have within each other, and then the other 9 will fall into place. It's a beautiful thing. And Willie, I don't know if you're in the stream right now, but yes, this broadcast was done to be more fitting to your schedule. So I hope you're in there, and appreciate that we popped on just for you to fit the other side of the pond's globe, so to speak. But does anybody have any questions in the chat that they want addressed? And Mel's back. Okay, so
I am back. Sorry, I went to get my ice cream before it melted.
That's fine. I know it's your supper time, so and we did come on at an earlier time for us in the States, but there's a lot of people in other countries and stuff. So this basically was to reach out and let them experience the live stream. That's a more suitable time for them. So yes. Anyways, were you able to hear what I was talking about? I know you haven't been feeling well, but that was something that I believe it was Bob that brought up, or it might have been Magi. But there's 10 qualities, 9 you don't like, 1 that you do. You focus on the 1, and then the 9 all kind of fall away, and then everything becomes beautiful. It's kind of like where we're at now in the human condition. We're coming from human, which is less than man, hewed down man, to mankind, because that's our true essence. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to read Boom's question. Hang on a second. Oh, you go ahead, Mel.
Do you want me to read it? It says, what if you have no money? How can you manifest something when the knowing is there? Manifestation isn't over like it's only boom boom a magical trick where, you know, I could wish to have a brand new, I don't know, Mercedes tomorrow. It doesn't mean it's going to appear. Manifestation is also about, okay, if you want to attract money, you have to start believing you will attract money, that you are worthy of attracting money, that you are successful, that you, whatever vocation you want to do, that you already, you need to train your mind to embody the characteristics of the person that you hope to become, say in a year, 3 years, 5 years time, that successful person with a lot of money or money coming in. It's only if you start embodying the characteristics and step into that role that that is another form of manifestation. It's exactly the same as method acting. You have to genuinely believe that that is you. Um, and I know that I've heard that this is how a lot of the you know, the children of the elites are raised. They're taught this from a very early age, that if you believe you're worthy of it, that you, this is true, that you are this, people, other people will believe it too, and they will treat you as if you are that person. And that, so if you want more money and you want to be successful in a career, then you have to step into that persona, and start acting like it now in order to make it true. That's where I look at it anyway. What do you think, Michelle?
Well, when I'm thinking about manifestation, um, from my perspective, I tried to manifest betterment for mankind. And it seems like when your heart is, looking out for the betterment of others, prosperity will automatically come to you. Now, if I'm trying to manifest something that is a little selfish and self-serving, well, those seem to, fly away. And even again, we'll go back to scripture. It says that, that we're given this prayer language because we pray for things we know not. And when people are praying, I need this job, I want this car, I want, those are what, you almost have to be selfless. And when you're looking and you're praying for the betterment of others, then it seems like things do end up flowing into you. Let me give you an example, Boom. Okay. You guys know I have a new swimming pool in my backyard. Well, okay, I'm disabled, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'll have my husband do a video and show you guys where I was at. I'll have to find some photos where it'll show you my size and everything. I had a different perspective on food, everything. That I had to have a total renewing of my mind. Well, as I'm going through this process of this refinement that's going on within me, I was not, just like how Mel was talking about, she's, want to stay in the 3D to help other people. Okay. She doesn't want to see anybody left behind. I went through a period that lasted a very long time because I had this really bad problem with thinking that people, because of the dogma and doctrine, that they were going to suffer and these horrible things would come upon them. And my heart couldn't handle that. Okay. But let's get back to the swimming pool. What happened was I got a phone call. Okay, this was money that was owed to me that I thought would never be collected, ever. I wasn't pursuing it. I just forgot, I let it go. And what it was is there was a substantial amount of child support owed to me. If you're watching my videos, I give testimony where I was working up to 3 jobs to take care of my children. The father was not helping me with the financial support. He was working under the table jobs and doing things like that. So no support was, attainable. But that's okay. I wanted to take care of my children. And so I did what I needed to. Out of the blue, I got a phone call. And what happened was apparently he had been in an accident and there was a large settlement coming his direction. Well, that support order came up, and the amount that was due was tens of thousands of dollars. They called me, negotiated a term, asked me if I would be, I said, I didn't expect anything. So, sure, whatever you're offering, let's just square this out and set him free of the bondage of having that debt over his head. Well, the tens of thousands of dollars popped into my account less than 5 days later. Pool contractor was out here, and we didn't even have to get a loan or anything. So what I'm saying is here, boom, is a lot of it has to do with the intentions. If you're holding on to something real tight and it's just self-serving, it seems like those things will just fleet from our fingertips. But as Mel just gave testimony on, saying that she would stay behind because to help other people, I went through that, very heart-wrenching period myself, because in the beginning we're not aware. We're just getting like the crusties off our eyes of who and what we are. And and then your heart is broke open towards all people. You want none to suffer. And then the prosperity just kind of it gets magnetized to you. I mean, the blessings are, my cup runneth over. I'm getting things I never expected. I'm doing this now. I never thought I would do this. I'm a viewer. I watched other people, I was a support base for other people, a cheerleader for them. But here I am in front of the camera overcoming something, that something else. And everybody here has been so wonderful and so supportive. It's just, you guys are making this fun. You're making this easy for me. So when you're thinking about, manifestations for yourself, try to look at a manifestation that would be in the betterment of everybody. And then things will be drawn to you. At least that's how it works for me. We're each individual, we're each unique, and we're each manifesting our experiences we're having here. But when the abundance comes to you, boom, since you have, had that lack, you will have more gratitude when that abundance comes to you. So, it's a matter of time. The prosperity doctrine that is out there in the world, guys, it's nonsense. I think people get partially through, and I don't think that, like, when churches and stuff are established, that they do it out of malice, or they don't intentionally try to deceive people. But I think sometimes people may pop up and start speaking before they are ready, before they are self-aware themselves. And when they do that, they teach in error and get stuck. And then, so, now when I look at the churches where I said everything was inverted, it was, backwards and upside down. Now I can see more clearly that they didn't do this to us on purpose. They just taught all that they knew. And in the beginning, when the gifts are stirred back up that we've had our entire lives, that, like Mel said, she remembers having them as a child. But as things come along in the world, they kind of get squashed down. In the beginning, you feel special, you feel selected, you feel elect. And then, you kind of get almost puffed up. But that's not the time to speak out. Even though you're having prophetic dreams and these gifts are stirred, you're coming out too soon. If you come out too soon, then as you're progressing, you're recanting a lot of things that you taught people because you taught them in error. And in the meantime, these churches get established, and all these brick and mortar buildings, and then it becomes dogma. So you got to go through the wilderness journey and pop out the other side. So you're not, and even after you pop out the other side, there's new information coming in daily. I mean, it's limitless, guys. So take that, with what resonates with you. Boom. And I gotta say, the best source for finding out anything that you're wanting to know is to seek within yourself. Anything you're asking, anything you're wanting to know, it's there for you. We just have to learn how to hear it and muffle out all the voices around so you can discern and follow your true authentic path, the true boom, so to speak. So what do you have anything to add to that, Mel? I almost called you Amber.
I'm used to it. Yeah, I think it's about believing in yourself. If you believe that you are worthy to have more money, and you incorporate that belief inside, you're going to be more likely to attract it to you. You know, and I know that there are people in the world who have that belief, and we could argue really they don't deserve it. But then, would you really want to live your life being buffeted constantly by the negative thoughts and emotions and accusations spiritually of the rest of humanity? That can't be easy either. So I think you have to really believe and know that you are worthy of it. But if you, the problem is, if you're, what, as Michele said, wanting money for when you don't really need it, and but you want it for some other reason, or what could be called a selfish reason, then that's going to be difficult, because subconsciously you're going to know you're not worthy of it, or it's not justified. And so, I mean, we were just beginning to understand this manifestation business. I think there's so many variables involved. But I agree with everything, and I think that it's not about what you want; it's about what you need, and that's where we have to change our viewpoint on life. Michele, there was another couple of questions. Captain had a question earlier.
Okay. I was just asking Magic, but somebody's asking. Yes, if you caught it, that's great, Mel.
His question was, I see prayer as a form of manifestation, a tool for so. I see meditation as a journey within. What do you gals think of this view?
I heard the first. I heard the last part about meditation, but what was the first part of the question?
He sees prayer as a form of meditation, and meditation as a journey within.
Mm-hmm.
What do you girls think of this?
Okay, I'll field that one first, and then I'll let you go ahead with yours. Actually, and it was Captain 777, Captain that asked that. Well, personally, I see prayer and meditation as one, because what I would call prayer actually was meditation. Because I don't. Okay, unless which we touched on with the praying in tongues, where you pray for things you know not. The verbalization prayers of the old way that I did things. That was the old me. I use the prayer language if I'm going to verbalize a prayer. So now when I do meditation, yes, and both would be an internal journey, although prayer could be an external, way of verbalizing it. Both should be done in private. It's those that pray on the corners, that it seems like their prayers seem to escape from them. But those that pray in their secret place. I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. Be right back.
While Michelle's busy with that, I'll just say my view on that. See, I see prayer meditation as two different things. Myself, I see prayer as being a plea for protection or assistance from an outside entity from yourself. I see meditation as being the same thing, but also so much more, but it's accessing inside of yourself. So myself, I see them as two different things. I hope that answered the question, Captain. I'm sure Michele might have more to say on it when she's back.
Let me read this other one that Magi just grabbed from Hyperpositive Transgender. Okay. What do you think about the Albanian bread industry? And do you think its collapse is connected to an Illuminati plot to outlaw dough conditioners not developed by multinational corporations? Sorry. Okay. Well, as I'm reading that question, I'm hoping that I'm reading it correctly. As we are becoming more self-aware, we are the ones who are manifesting what is going to raise up and what is going to collapse. Things that we deem unhealthy for ourselves and things that we find that are not prosperous for mankind, we will see fold in on themselves as a natural progression of the macro reflecting on what's going on in the micro. So as we're getting our house in order and doing the introspection, the world will show and it will be affected on the macro level of what's going on within each and every one of us. What do you think about that, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, in terms of the Albanian bread industry, I honestly don't know. I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. So I can't give a point of view as to the possible plots involved, etc. But yeah, as Michele said, what as above, so below, as inside, so without.
Yes, I too don't know anything about the Albanian bread industry, but it is pretty, even if we're getting into the details of different things, you know, when you see, you just like we can see the gulf between the what the people have done that was wrong in their life, you know. Let's just let's look at American politics. Okay, let's throw politics into the mix. Okay, the email scandal, and how about the Russian rigging the election thing? Okay, these things are coming out, all right, and they're looking really super bad. But on the same token, there's other things raising up, like more prosperity, people getting jobs, and other people seeing, you know, beautiful. I'm seeing these pictures people are taking of these beautiful skies and clouds, and so the good is looking gooder and the bad is looking worse, and there's a gulf in between them. So that's on the macro level. But on the micro level, that's just, it's showing on the macro level what's going on within us. Many of us are on this journey. Many of us are going through the transition of being self-aware. So if we're being self-aware, you're in twice. How'd that happen?
I have no idea.
Wow, I got double vision. Okay, but now she's doubling up on me, guys. What should we do about this? Like, she's doubled down. She's doubled down on me.
9373. That's Mel from Time 9372.
Okay, but the channel that I'm trying to get you guys to go to is called Mel's Table Talk. Mel's Table Talk has completely disappeared. Oh my gosh. Electronics, aren't they just amazing? And that's another thing, you guys. It seems like as the energy and this truth it's a powerful thing that's coming out. It does affect our very gizmos and gadgets around us. It's an amazing thing. I mean, I blew out my whole breaker, and then I brought my computer system back up, and a conversation that I actually had with Mel completely disappeared. It was crazy. But anyways, instead of needling down to which business or even like the politics and stuff, it just seems like that golf is becoming more clear, and for people to see the difference more clear. And on the micro level, that's what's going on with DNS. And as we see things starting to shift more on a peaceful, more harmonic, where the world is, being more prosperous, there's plenty. And, guys, we already know the battle is already won. It's just a matter of us getting to that finish line. And then from that finish line, starting that walk and that new understanding as we grow daily. So, don't get worried about the small, like littler things. Look at it from, raise your perspective up a little higher and take a look down at it and see what's going on, and realize that the world around us reflects what's going on within us. So that's the best way I know how to explain it. Mel may have more to add or a different perspective to add. Thanks, guys.
No, I mean, as you were talking, I was just thinking about different perspectives, and taking this back full circle back to the original topic. And I was going to ask you, Michele, a question. What if the Illuminati, as a catch-all phrase for these secret societies, are actually trying to help us and liberate us from religious dogma and religious control?
And that goes along with what I said earlier, that when these brick and mortar churches came up, they didn't do it to deceive us deliberately. They went with what they knew. Whether they came out too early, that goes with, I waited a very long time to even start to speak out on YouTube. And plus it's overcoming, a fear that I had of seeing myself. And I didn't even like my own reflection, guys. That's how bad it was. You guys are really helping me overcome that. But they operate with what they know, and everything. I think everything starts with good intentions. It just, it ends up being dated material because the understandings become more profound and we grow. But if we get stuck in a brick and mortar and then it becomes dogmatic, then we're not growing anymore. So, when you look at the Illuminati, I don't look at it as a bad thing now, because like I said, on their altar, they have the King James Bible. Well, in that Bible, I just did a video on which God are you serving? The Old Testament God, who is judgmental and harsh, wants sacrifice and bowing and scraping and servitude? Or are you with the New Testament, following Christ, who is the great liberator? We can look at anything with those lenses, that duality, but we're coming out of duality and going into the age of Aquarius with the water bearer into all knowing. So I would have to say, Mel, I am with you on that. I think that although they try to put it as a secret society, why would they put these symbols out in plain sight? Because they want people to wake up. They want us to become self-aware, or they wouldn't put these logos and symbols out there. So yes, yeah, well, I'm in agreement with you there, Mel. I think you have a very good point. And you do have to be free from these religious dogmas. And you have to have the new eyes to be able to see that you're stunting your own growth by staying with the old ways. Magi brought up something in our chat forum the other day about the new song that they will be singing. What is that new song that everybody's going to be singing? And it's not a select people. It's going to be everybody will be singing a new song. That's been going around in my noodle for a while because it is a new song that we're singing, and we're coming, and we all have our instrument and like an orchestra or with our vocals, and with frequency and awareness, and it is like a new song. It's beautiful. So I appreciate that he said that. It was a beautiful thing to say.
Could that be referring to a frequency change? So you could say that we all sing our frequency outwards, and so the new song would be the new frequency, the new vibration, the new level and maturity of consciousness. That is the song that humanity is en masse is going to start to sing louder and louder and louder and louder. You remember with entrainment, an analogy is with the cellos or the string instruments being entrained. So that's what music is. It's sound, it's vibration, it's frequency. Song is frequency. That's why people feel happy when they sing. And specific songs have been known for a long time. Certain notes, certain chords engender different emotional responses because it's a frequency. It's affecting the actual frequency of the water in your cells and your energetic body. So I think the new song will be the new frequency. That's my understanding of it, I think.
Yes, and it is that, there's truth in that, and it's just a matter of we're all going through this transition, and that new song is coming out in each and every one of us through our testimonies. It's a beautiful thing, guys. And there's no fear. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I'm hoping that, through this outreach that is one thing that we're conquering is fear. I also want to say that on Mel's Table Talk, she did do an actual show on entrainment. It is on her channel, and she gets into more detail about what entrainment is. And I think everybody could learn a lot about that theory in itself to help us to grow and to understand what we're going through, and not be afraid of this change, because it is a change. And we sometimes there's a lot of us that do fear change, because we look at it like, oh, it's a negative thing, but it's not, you guys. This renewal, this change, this frequency change, it's a beautiful thing, and there's nothing to be afraid of.
No.
We have went over 2 hours, and I try to keep them at an hour. So, you guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Remember, Mel's on my homepage under Mel's Table Talk. The Great Magi that I've brought up a couple times, his channel's also listed there. And hit the notification bell, because you never know when we're going to pop on to say hello. I want to thank everybody for coming. And I'll see you guys in chat. Peace.
Bye.